The City of Bristol, providing beautiful parks, economic development, and a family-friendly community.
Welcome to the Joint Board meeting, Tuesday, September 12th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ask the board to please introduce themselves, starting my far right.
John Smith, Board of Finance.
Mike Lamoth, Board of Finance.
Orlando Calfee, Board of Finance.
Derek Chanchleski, Board of Finance.
Burns, Board of Finance.
Jody Zills-Gagny, City Council.
Cheryl Tebow, Board of Finance.
Dave Mills, City Council.
Dave Perleski, City Council.
Calvin Brown, City Council.
Mary Fortier, City Council.
Jake Carrier, Board of Finance.
Town Clerk Therese Pack.
Assistant Dawn LaBella.
And I'm Mayor Ken Cockane. Item number 1.
Approval of minutes of the regular joint board meeting on August 8th, 2017.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 2.
It's the consent calendar. There are 10 items. 2A is to make an additional appropriation of $665,704 within the Police Department Special Services Operating Budget Fund as of June 30th, 2017. 2B is to make an additional appropriation of $893 within the Special Grants and Donations Fund as of June 30th, 2017, funded by contributions. 2C is to make an additional appropriation of $4,965 within the Special Grants and Donations Fund as of June 30th, 2017, funded by contributions for the Local Prevention Council. 2D is to make an additional appropriation of $1,236 within the Special Grants and Donations Fund as of June 30th, 2017, funded by contributions for Skills to Pay Bills. 2E is to make an additional appropriation of $30,000 within the Youth Services Operating Budget funded by grant revenue for the Juvenile Diversion Grant. 2F is to make transfers totaling $85,123 within the Sewer Operating and Assessment Fund as of June 30th, 2017, to close out the fiscal year. 2G is to make transfers totaling $58,500 within the Public Works operating budget as of June 30th, 2017 for an infrared heater unit. 2H is to make transfers totaling $301,000 within the Public Works operating budget for the purchase of vehicles. 2I is to make an additional appropriation of $5,000 within the Special Grants and Donations Fund funded by the People Empowering People Grant, and 2J is to make an additional appropriation of $60,000 within the Special Grants and Donations Fund funded by grant revenue for the Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Grant.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 3.
To approve transfers totaling $1,325,893 within the general fund to close out fiscal year 2016-2017.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 4.
To rescind the $2 million grant appropriation for the Center Square Infrastructure Project and increase the bonding appropriation to $4 million within the Capital Projects Fund.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 5.
To make an additional appropriation of $2,800 within the Equipment Building Sinking Fund, funded by a transfer in from the General Fund for security glass in the tax office.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 6.
To make an additional appropriation of $2,381,120 within the general fund, funded by current tax levy revenue of $1,600,000 and prior tax levy revenue of $781,120 to the Board of Education operating budget for special education cost overruns as of June 30th, 2017. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. And number 7.
Is the monthly revenue and expense report presentation by the Controller.
Good evening, everyone. You have before you the report for 2017-18 through August. Really not a lot to report here. You'll notice that there are some accounts that might be 100% expended, mostly encumbrances, but it's early in the year yet to tell where everything will go. But for right now, just wanted to highlight that. But I think probably what's more important is maybe to give you a further update on the governor's budget. I think in the report that I had given you, I had identified what the executive order that the governor had issued on August 18th, what the effect of that was on the city's budget, and that was a reduction in revenues of $3.94 million. ECS had remained at the current level, so the city did not lose any ECS funding with that executive order. But we did lose the pilot for state property and hospitals. The motor vehicle grant is estimated to stay at the 37 mil cap, so that grant goes away. And then the municipal revenue sharing went away. Since this report was filed, the governor came out with another order on Friday, August 8th, and this revises it somewhat. The pilot grants are still gone. The motor vehicle is going to stay the same. That is going to remain at the 37 mils. So we did bill at the 32 mils, so that grant, $1 million plus, is gone. There is a state sales tax grant that is proposed, and that's going to replace the municipal revenue sharing grant, from what I can tell in reading the budget. That grant amount that was proposed for Bristol was $2.7 million. So between the 3.94 that we were losing, we received back another 2.7 with this executive order. However, there is still a contribution to the state teachers' retirement fund included in this proposal, and that amount from the city to the state teachers' retirement fund is $1.35 million. So the net reduction in state aid to the city is $2.57 million, which is roughly 0.75 of a mil, which is about a 1% tax increase. So that's where we are right now with the executive order that came out on Friday, a $2.57 million decrease to the budget. So with that, we'll keep you posted. I know I've been sending out updates as they come through, but if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Questions?
I wanted to thank you for adding that new category to the attorney's fees. And sorry, I had a note here. Of course, I don't know where Yes, sorry. This month, there were no additional attorney bills relative to the complaint against the mayor. So the bills for the pending lawsuit have not been received yet, is that correct?
Not to our knowledge that
Okay.
we've checked with everybody.
And one other thing, the council has met with Attorney King and Attorney Rose recently, and I just wanted to say that those bills are going to need a separate category so that we can delineate them from the ones we've been following.
Okay, we can.
So, in other words, they're the same attorneys, but it would need to be a different line item. So I don't know if it should be council inquiry or what the name for that should be, but I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other business? Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. All opposed. Motion passes. Council will start at 7 o'clock. Good evening. Welcome to the City Council meeting, Tuesday, September 12th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ask the council to please introduce yourself.
Calvin Brown, District 1.
Jody Zills-Gagnon, District 2.
Dave Mills, District 3.
Dave Perleski, District 2.
Mary Fortier, District 3.
Town Clerk Therese Peck.
Assistant Dawn LaBella.
And Mayor Ken Cockane. Councilman Tony D'Amato was unable to make it tonight. He had a last-minute issue that he had to deal with. Ask for opening, moment of silence for troops on active duty, and let's also keep in our thoughts and prayers the victims of both hurricanes. Thank you. Item number 2.
Approval of minutes of the regular City Council meeting on August 8th, 2017, and the special City Council meeting on August 14th, 2017.
So moved.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Public participation. Stephanie Beals.
115 Country Lane. I'm representing No Frack Waste Bristol. And I just want to update, 25 towns in Connecticut have passed ordinances including Hartford, which passed last night after 2 months of council meetings and 1 public hearing. And I just wanted to say that we're looking forward to the next ordinance committee meeting, where hopefully the ordinance will pass over to the city council for a vote next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ed Dudko.
Okay, Ed Dutko, 116 Lewis Road, Bristol, Connecticut. And I think you all know why I'm here tonight. And first of all, I'd like to thank Calvin Brown for what he said at the last council meeting about me requesting a plaque for my family. Now, it's too bad you're leaving local politics. I hope you re-enter it someday, because I think I'd vote for you in a heartbeat. Now, Mr. Mayor and Councilman Proleski, now you've heard most of this speech before when I addressed a BDA last month in late August. Now, I'd like the rest of the council members and the public to hear it. They can watch it on Nutmeg TV. Now, my comments then addressed comments made at the previous BDA meeting, and that meeting was July 24th of 2017. Now, I urge people to view that meeting on YouTube. All you have to do is enter Development Authority 7/2417 Bristol CT. Now, what you're going to see is 12 minutes of very interesting viewing, beginning at 6.5 minutes till 19 minutes after. Now, in July's BDA meeting, Mr. Proleski, you said that I'm aggressive. Now, at August BDA meeting, I told you my comments, they're blunt, they're honest. Now, look, a lot of times, please come to this line, I'm always fighting back tears when I think about what happened to my family. Now, I could speak my mind, because the last time I looked, the First Amendment is still in effect of the U.S. Constitution, isn't it? And in July's BDA meeting, BDA member Mickey Goldwasser said, now to give my family a plaque would be rewarding bad behavior. Now, last I looked, the Fifth Amendment is still in use in the Constitution. You know, you're supposed to get just compensation in cases of eminent domain. Now, look, we can go to court, and we went to court, my family did. I'm glad we did. Now, I told Mr. Goldwasser in August, now what really is rewarding bad behavior? Now, as he remembers, the last executive director of the BDA, before Mr. Malley, now you all know the guy, when talking about a council member, said he wished he had a gun. Sure, he lost his job, but he was rewarded $50,000 a year for 10 years in full medical benefits. Now, that's more than $500,000 for bad behavior. Now, my mother, she lost a quarter share of the property, that prime real estate. So she lost 7.5 acres in her house. But she didn't get no $500,000. I hope people watch it on YouTube. Bristol Development Authority. No, just Development Authority 7/2417 Bristol CT. Now, I'm just asking you to revisit my request for a plaque. I only need one on Middle Street. Now, the city put up 2 plaques. They put up one for themselves on Middle and Redstone Hill. Now, everybody and their uncle has their names on those. Now, with my Freedom of Information request, I found out these 2 plaques cost about $3,200 each. So about $6,400 of Bristol taxpayer money is spent on those plaques. You know, so basically people could blow their own horns. Now, I'm going to make it a campaign issue, even though I'm not running for anything. Now, any politician who's against backing that plaque, you know, a small plaque down on my family, they're not worthy of your vote. You know, you have to do what it's right. And I ran into your opponent. I saw her, Price Chopper. She supports backing the plaque. You were curious about that. But she says, what's being done now is stupid. And I told her, what's being done now, I think it's shameful.
Thank you. Joe Gialdino. Name and address for the record, please.
Joe Gialdino, 23 Corey Lane, Bristol. I heard that we may, the council may bring up about blight property. I think it's a great program that you have. I just got involved in it. In the last 4 or 5 years, I've probably spent over $2 million on new property. I buy them and I build new homes on them and I keep them. And then I hear there may be some discussion about who gets it and why. This is why people like myself come to Bristol and spend money. 12 years ago, 14 years ago, I never wanted to come to Bristol and build again. But the kind of you people making the city a better place to live, all of you, okay? I'm interested in bringing money here. I have 4 other offers on properties now. But if we're gonna do away with a program like that, there's gonna be no incentive to come here. I'll go to Southington and, you know, I would bring my money there. But I like Bristol, I was born and raised here, and I hope you could please keep the program going, because it's a good thing. And I think I've improved every neighborhood I built in. Thank you for your time.
Through the chair. Mr. Gelladino, if you probably heard, I asked some questions of Mr. Warren since the last meeting. Are you going to stick around for a little bit? Because I'm going to bring this up under unfinished business, and I think you should listen to it, what I have to say, if you can hang around for a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Dave Haberfield?
Good evening. David Haberfeld, 110 Divinity Street. I'm here also to talk to you about the tax-free abatement program. I believe that's the proper name. Specifically, Mr. Gelladino told me that there were some questions about whether or not he should have received the program so far after completion, and I wanted to lend my support. I've had at least 5 properties qualify and be approved for the tax-free assessment program. It could even be 6 or 7, and I want to tell you that it's a wonderful program. First introduced to me by Guy Morin. Guy and Mayor Cockayne wanted to knock down a bad building with a bad landlord, and I raced to buy it before that happened. That was 434 Jerome Avenue, if you guys remember that one. I've raced Guy and the mayor several times to save buildings I thought were worth saving. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose, and that's okay. I agree with 95% of the choices of the buildings that we take down, and it's wonderful for the neighborhoods either way, whether it's knocked down or whether I renovate it. Either way, it's a win for the neighborhood. So this particular one, after I pulled the permit, Guy told me about the tax freeze program, and Tom, the assessor, explained it to me, and I applied and was approved and took advantage of the program. I had never heard of it before that. If Guy hadn't mentioned it, I didn't know it existed. It's just not that well advertised. Programs like this that reward private investment for people like myself and Mr. Gelladino should be encouraged and possibly even expanded if it's reasonable. There are a lot of towns out there. There's a lot of property that we can be investing in. Your job in this should be to try to capture as many investment dollars in Bristol as possible. Give people like us as many reasons as you can to invest in Bristol instead of other towns. Programs like this tell people like me that you are trying to be open for business and that you want us here. Anything that you can do to make a Bristol 3-family more desirable than a New Britain 3-family to buy and renovate, and anytime that you can convince Mr. Gelladino to build a new house in Bristol instead of Southington, it's something that you should consider. Thank you very much and keep up the good work.
Thank you. That's all we have there. Announcements, starting my far left.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to start with voting. Elections are coming up on November 7th. If you haven't saw signs, you will. They're popping up everywhere. And I wanted to remind folks that need absentee ballot applications, that they are available at the city clerk's office. For students, members of the military, there's a couple different categories of folks that can use them, and if you have questions, you can call the city clerk's office. And any new residents or folks that will be just turning 18 before the election can register and check with the registrar's office. There's also same-day registration. We've been doing that for a couple of years, and you have to come to City Hall. You don't go to your polling place if you're never registered in Bristol before. And then we also have new ways to vote for visually and hearing impaired people, and the registrars would love to show you those new toys that they have. They're quite fascinating, and we actually had a demonstration of that last year at our Disability Commission meeting, and they're amazing what they do for folks that have impairments. So they'd love to show those to you. And my second issue is last month I mentioned the Jeff Pierce Memorial Wiffle Ball Tournament, and it was held this past Saturday, and it was very successful. And these young people raised approximately $6,000 in memory of their friend, and a fund has been set up at the Main Street Community Foundation, and those proceeds will go to charities that help people and families deal with the opioid crisis and related issues. So I'm just putting a shout out because I'm very proud of the young people that put that together themselves. They're all under 30 years old, and they're reaching out and doing something for their community to make things better in memory of their great friend that they really miss and appreciated when he was here. So that's it for me.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I've got a couple. The Senior Center is going to host its 3rd annual informational health fair on September 21st from 9 to noon. The purpose of the fair is to bring together providers of physical, mental, and emotional health together with the seniors and other invitees. There'll be flu shots, blood pressure screenings, and much, much more. It's free to the public. The Senior Center also, and the Friends of the Center, are hosting a meet and greet the 2017 municipal candidates on October 4th at 1:30 in their cafeteria. If you want to go and listen to the municipal candidates and ask questions, it's, again, free to the public. The Mom Festival is coming up in a week and a half. A lot of people, the Exchange Club is working very hard at the Mom Festival. Some great plans, so look at the newspaper, look at the advertisements, because it's a great thing for Bristol, it's a great thing for downtown, the Mom Festival is always a lot of good family fun. And the last thing, the mayor, Councilwoman Fortier and I attended a 9/11 memorial last night, and at St. Gregory's Church. It was one of those very satisfying events that makes us remember about things that are important in 9/11. It's been 16 years already. Isn't that incredible? But I want to thank them for hosting us, Mayor. They did a nice job last night.
That was a very nice service.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, I have three things. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Emmanuel Lutheran on their recent anniversary. I know it was very monumental, and they had a big crowd to celebrate that event. Also, Emmanuel Lutheran is having their German festival this weekend, so anyone that likes German food and German beer, it might be an opportunity to go down there and enjoy that. So it's this weekend. And I'd also like to congratulate the Congregational Church on a new addition that was added, that they had a celebration this weekend. So that's all I have.
Yes, the Miss Mom Pageant is this coming Friday night at Chippens Hill Middle School at 7 p.m. Admission is free, and of course, as Councilman Perleski has already said, the Mom Festival kicks off next Thursday with fireworks in the downtown area, right outside Memorial Boulevard. It's going to be a fun-filled weekend, ending with the parade, of course, on Sunday, which kicks off at 1:30 on Race Street. And there is a new route this year, so if you want to see that, you can go to bristolmomfestival.com for all the details. And I'd like to thank the Exchange Club for all the hard work that they've been putting into that. Thank you.
Councilman?
None from me.
Okay, I have a few. First, Fish of Amy and Fish in the Morning on Radio 104 will be broadcasting live from Memorial Boulevard Park this Thursday, September 14th, from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. They will be collecting monetary donations for those displaced by the Hurricane Irma. All funds raised will go to Global Giving, a nonprofit group that is helping more than a dozen local charities in Florida. So if you have time to stop down and give a couple bucks to those in need down in Florida, he'll be there live. Second thing is, if you have missed it, O'Connell and Bingham are currently under construction. We had a groundbreaking. They're going to have approximately 96 senior housing units between the two schools. Anticipated construction ending will be end of 2018, next year. So they're well underway. Abatement is just wrapping up and construction is beginning. Tonight we will be voting on the road that's going to be going through Center Square. I'm anticipating a vote for yes to sign the contract, so that project is moving forward as well. We'll talk more about that later. The Western realignment continues. They're currently in design phase. We met with the DOT a couple weeks ago, and they're currently in design phase of the Western realignment, so that continues as well. And then lastly, both myself and Justin Malley of the Economic Development team here in Bristol met at the DECD yesterday in a meeting to bring Amazon headquarters to Connecticut. They're looking for a second headquarters. So we met with a number of other large cities, and we're going to take a regional approach. We're going to team up with the Hartford region to try to woo Amazon here. We know it's a tough ask, considering our governor is killing this state right now, but we're going to give it our all that we can and go from there. So that's all I have on the announcements. Item number 5.
It's the consent calendar.
Mayor, Madam Clerk, I'd like to ask if we can present a motion, please, to take the ordinances under number 6, with the exception of the new section 12-167. I'd like to keep that out, Mayor, if we can, but all the other sections that are listed as under number 6, to be part of our consent agenda. I can explain, Mayor, if you wish, but
So, can we just do that a request, or we need to vote on that?
I would vote on it just to
Okay,
say
so
to add it.
to add sections, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 sections in there. Do I have a motion? You made a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, discussion. Dave, you want to just give a quick rundown?
you know, Mayor, what we did was we met with Mrs. Ferguson, our personnel director, and what we're trying to do in these, they're fairly pro forma sections of our personnel policy. It's designed to bring us back up to both statutory, with statutory changes and some of the new contract changes that we have under our new bargaining relationships.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor to put these into consent calendar?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, and so the consent calendar, 5A is to place on file the new hire report for August 2017. 5B is to approve the tax refunds dated September 5th, 2017. 5C is to approve the opt-out of permitting temporary health care structures within the City of Bristol pursuant to Public Act 17-155. 5D is to authorize Mayor Kenneth Cockane to sign agreement with Efficient Lighting Consultants Incorporated to complete LED lighting upgrades at City Hall, Police Court Complex, and Main and Manross libraries. And then you're adding in the introduction of amendments and scheduling a public hearing for September 20th for a new Section 2-77, subsection E, Section 2-77, .1, pension payments generally, Section 2-97.3, subsection H, retirement benefits and their payment generally, Section 2-97.5, death benefits, Section 2-97.14, same by employees, Section 2-97.17, retirement benefits and their payment generally, Section 2-97.19, death benefits, and lastly, Section 19-19, police force method of appointment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
Yes, Your Honor, quickly, I'd just like to thank and congratulate the city's task force on energy consumption for item D, and that is converting some of these city buildings to LED lighting. I know many of us have done that in our homes already, and it's one of those small tweaks that we can make that yields savings for the taxpayer in the long run. And special thanks to David Oakes and the city's task force on energy consumption for pursuing the grant that's allowing us to do this and for picking the projects and moving forward. That's all.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
Just to add on what Calvin said, Calvin, I know that the committee's been meeting for a long time, and this subject has been one that goes way back, and I, for one, and to agree with you that it's great that it's happening finally. So it's nice to see that the city is moving into the 21st century and able to do these things. So.
I just had one little question on this item. These particular locations, are these all interior lights, or are these also parking lot lights at those buildings and locations?
Oh, that's a good question. I was under the impression that it's just interior lighting. I don't know if there's, is that correct, Mr. Maselka?
Both saying yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me also add what Councilman Brown said was, this energy task force has done so much under my 2 terms, and this is just one of the many projects that we've really taken on, or the task force has really taken on, and you've done great work, and glad to see it moving on, and I know we have a lot more plans in the works, so great work by the task force. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion passes. Reports. Councilman Pless, do you want to start with your ordinance one?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. The remaining new ordinance that was not put into the consent calendar is a new section for tax abatements for surviving spouses of police officers and firefighters. The state of Connecticut passed a statute which gave the authority to the municipalities to give a tax break or tax abatement to any surviving spouse of a police officer or fire personnel who was killed in the line of duty. So what we've done is presented the statute for us tonight to consider that defines all the terms as we should have in terms of the who qualifies. And what we are proposing, the ordinance committee is proposing, is an abatement of 50% of the real property taxes due and payable while a surviving spouse lives in our town. There are provisions for the council to review this from time to time, see what the expenses are as they accrue to the city, and there are provisions where if a spouse remarries, the benefit goes away, things of that nature. But I think it's well drafted. I want to thank Attorney Conlon for his work on it, and it's something I think that we could be, we should approve.
Let me also add that, when the state passed this, I asked the ordinance to look at this, and I want to thank the ordinance for taking this on. We certainly hope that no one in Bristol or surrounding communities has to ever deal with this new ordinance. But if they do, there's something there to thank their families for risking their lives. Any other discussion? I think you need a motion.
That's my motion, Mayor. Motion to approve.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion passes. Okay, now we'll go back to, well, is that you? You have another committee report?
Yeah, I have two, please. Also, on the 20th of September, we're going to have a public hearing on a fracking ordinance. We've, again, come up with language to address that issue, and there will be a public hearing scheduled for the 20th. And the only other report, Mayor, is from the BDA. The staff continues to work with the Bristol Hospital and its business partner, Readiness, on their site plan, landscaping plan, and their plans are moving forward through the municipal process. Staff is also preparing a grant application for Phase 2 of the infrastructure for Center Square, and we are just about ready to roll out some new incentives that we've been developing with all the BDA commissioners on grant and tax abatement opportunities for downtown. And what we've chosen to do, Mayor, I think you know, is the enterprise zone will be the part of Bristol that will be applicable to these grant and the tax abatements. And report, one of the things I think that I really like what our staff does is that we have a Startup Bristol program, and the company that won this year is called Movia. It's a educational robotics company, and I'm glad to tell you that they are in full operation in Bristol. And this is a company that's really neat if you want to look at their website. And it's one of these things, you never know about startups, but you can always hit one that makes it big. And this is a great company who put on a demonstration for our educational staff at, I think, Stafford School, Sue, I think. Yeah. And very impressive. And I could see this company taking off. So they're in full operation in Bristol. Thank you, Mayor.
We'll go to Councilwoman for you.
Thank you. I just have one committee report, and it's for the Pine Lake Committee. And our last meeting, our new Parks Director, Brian Wilson, attended and participated and had a lively discussion with our members, and they covered some of the concerns they have about Pine Lake, and I think they gave him a sense of how much Pine Lake means to the Forestville community, and I hope it's the beginning of a great working relationship with him and the Pine Lake Committee, many of whom have served for decades on that committee, and they have a strong commitment to it. Thanks. That's it for me.
Yes, I have three committees to report on. The first one is our marketing committee. It's my pleasure. This is something that Mayor Ward put together, and you've continued the last two terms, and it's something that we're really proud of. As you know, we came up with the whole slogan of all heart, and we've got a couple of things that I'd like to go over with you tonight. One of the things that's been done is Mark Thomas is our new director, and he has done a fantastic job, and he's producing a series on Nutmeg TV called Uniquely Bristol. It's produced by the BDA, and it's premiered on Nutmeg TV this month. The first show subject was the 2017 Mom Festival preparations in the New England Carousel Museum. It's receiving very favorable responses. The October show is about Witches Dungeons Classic Movie Museum, the Bristol Firefighters Museum, and the Bristol Fire Department's Smoke Alarm FEMA Grant Program. You'll hear more about this, and you can go on YouTube and see it at any time, or you can go on Nutmeg TV, and Mark, you can fill us up with that. The next thing is that we had talked about where to go for information to find events, and this is if you go to our Bristol All Heart website, we have all the events listed and many things listed as to all the details on just about every event that's held in town. And again, I want to go over that our digital metrics for the website and our social media channels continue to grow. Total visits on BristolAllHeart.com are up 33% versus the numbers in 2016 through August. And the last thing, and what you're going to see here, is that the BDA has completed a new business-oriented promotional video. This can be emailed to prospective businesses and stresses the opportunities and incentives to move to Bristol. This will also be played at selective trade shows and events. I've seen this before, and it takes about 3 minutes, but it's certainly worth looking at. And again, I want to commend Mark for what you've done and what you're doing. It's you're really putting Bristol on the map. You're doing a lot of things that are terrific, and I want to thank you for doing that. So
Thank you.
if we could, I'll turn that over to Mark.
Treasures are not hidden in plain sight because they wouldn't last long or be as valuable. Nestled in the Connecticut rolling hills, Bristol, Connecticut is a place with a rich, diverse heritage and a vision for the future that begins with business. Strategically located between New York City and Boston, the All-Heart City is on Connecticut Route 72 and just minutes off Interstate 84 and State Route 8. Bristol boasts 27 square miles of a unique balance of work and play. Some may know this town of over 61,000 people as the home of the worldwide sports leader, ESPN. But upon closer look, it's obvious that Bristol has created an innovative philosophy and bolstered that premise with support programs, ideal for almost any business. Supported by a highly skilled and educated workforce, Bristol is also just a short drive from some of the country's largest aerospace firms. The results of forward-thinking leaders, along with a concern for small-town values, are just a few of the reasons Bristol was recently selected by Hartford Magazine as Greater Hartford's top municipality in the Best Bang of the Buck category. Focusing on our residents' happiness and quality of life is just good business. The city means business and backs up the vision. Manufacturers building in Bristol are eligible for tax abatement incentives through the state of Connecticut. Depending on qualifications, these benefits may include a 5-year, 80% abatement of local property taxes on qualifying properties. Other companies may qualify for additional tax abatement programs. Bristol also has a local grant program for new construction, expansions, and other projects. Variables include investment made by the company, new tax revenue potential, and additional community employment. Recent examples include a $100,000 grant for construction of a 30,000 square foot manufacturing facility. Another award included a $150,000 grant for a large call center to relocate in downtown Bristol. A good start is critical for any company. Startup Bristol is a unique business plan competition to encourage small business owners and entrepreneurs to locate in Bristol. New businesses and existing young companies wishing to grow can win a share of grant money of up to $100,000 to locate or expand in Bristol. So whether a business is off to a fast start or just years of trying to make an owner's dream come to life, Bristol probably has a program to fit the bill. One of the hottest areas in the entire state for growth is the Southeast Bristol Business Park. The park features full underground utilities and supports a multitude of potential tenants, including manufacturers, research firms, distribution facilities, and others. The park has already attracted growing companies such as Pods, CMI, Precision Threaded Products, GMN USA, and Amco, who have already made the Southeast Bristol Business Park their home. The beautifully landscaped business park offers several building lots with a large variety of sizes. But what about your employees? Bristol is uniquely loaded with world-renowned attractions, such as the country's oldest continually operating amusement park, Lake Compounce. Culturally, tourists and residents cherish the American Clock and Watch Museum, New England Carousel Museum, Imagination, a museum early learning center, and dozens of parks, nature attractions, recreational facilities, and so much more. Our city is filled with warm and friendly people who truly care for one another. If your company is looking to grow with a thriving city that has all the amenities, incentives, and pro-business philosophy without sacrificing genuine small-town values, then you owe it to your employees and company's future to learn more about Bristol. We make that easy too. Just call the Bristol Development Authority at 860-584-6185 or log on to www.bristolct.gov/BDA to see what kind of incentive package can be developed for you. Follow your heart to Bristol.
Mark, can you just spend 1 minute or 30 seconds on Uniquely Bristol and just tell us, again, how they can get to that and what they're doing with that? Or Justin, someone, if you could just quickly, yeah, just go to the microphone and just Uniquely Bristol, just describe.
Oh, Uniquely Bristol, take that.
Thanks, boss.
It's called delegation.
Yeah.
That's good, very good.
The show's got a lot of different reasons. It's basically to make sure that people consider Bristol coming to, Bristol to locate or expand their business. Also, to give the community a rightful sense of pride. And Nutmeg TV has been great to work with. We're going to look at all the aspects you may or may not know about town. We talked about the Mum Festival. We talked about the New England Carousel Museum. There's 100 stories. Justin and I were driving around with the mayor, and we had about 30 just coming up with things. We're going to have a lot more ideas that are going to go on forever. It's shown all 4 or 5 times a week, and then it'll change each month. We're really excited about it. The added benefit, too, is that we can then take these segments that are on the show and share those on social media. So we're kind of getting double duty. You can also go to bristolallheart.com and watch the full edition.
Great. Thanks very much. They're doing some terrific things, and that's what we wanted to try to do, is promote the city and some of the things that are happening. And I'm sure one of the things we're going to be looking at are the schools and what's going on there. I've got a couple other reports very quickly. The next one is the school readiness report for September 12th, 2017. Presently, the school readiness community programs are filled with a wait list. Bristol Preschool Child Care Center and Imagination Museum of Early Learning. We still encourage anyone interested in a full day, full year program to contact either programs, and enrollment is very fluid. The Board of Education School Readiness Program, which is part of the part day, part year program, is currently seeking additional applicants. Please contact the Bristol Early Childhood Center located at 240 Stafford Avenue if interested. The first day of school, fire truck rider winner was Leon Blaze from Stafford School. Very excited about his ride, and even told the firefighters on the truck he hoped one day to be one of them. This is a great community collaborative that excites and inspires not only the kindergarten children, but the firefighters as well. It also serves as a great incentive to have parents register their children on time for kindergarten. And the last thing I have is from our Real Estate Committee. I've got 2 motions. The first is, I hereby move to grant to Barter Businesses Unlimited permission to use a portion of Center Square for parking on October 12th, 2017. I further move that this matter be referred to the Department of Public Works to determine the appropriate location of the event on Center Square. I further move that this matter be referred to Corporation Counsel Office for insurance compliance. I further move that the mayor or acting mayor be authorized to execute any necessary documents to effectuate the same.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, the second motion is I hereby move that the City of Bristol approve the lease agreement by and between the City of Bristol, which is the landlord, and the Family Center, Inc., the tenant, for the property located at 296 Riverside Avenue, Bristol, Connecticut, for a term of 1 year commencing on October 12, 2017 through October 11, 2018. This is the former Hostess building, right? The total rent paid by the tenant shall be $6,084 per year, or $507 per month, for each month beginning October 12, 2017 through October 11, 2018, which is based on the rental of 2,028 square feet at $3 per square foot. I further move that this matter be referred to the Corporation Counsel to prepare and review any necessary documents. I further move that the mayor or acting mayor be authorized to execute any necessary documents to effectuate the same.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
That's all I have.
Councilwoman?
Yes, from the Park Board. Last Friday, the Parks and Rec hosted an outdoor movie night at Muzzy, and 390 people or so attended. The fall program registrations are underway. Program brochures were mailed home and were sent home through the schools. More information can be found on that at bristolrec.com. We have contracted with an architectural firm to assess the pool at Page Park. They started at the end of August while the water was still in the pool and have continued now that the pool has been drained. And finally, I'd like to call up Patrick Nelligan, if I can, to discuss the statute that the Park Board is proposing in the tennis courts on Memorial Boulevard.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Mayor, Councilman and woman. As you know, about 4 years ago, I came before you to ask for permission to build the SGU tribute monument on Down Street. It's been an epic journey, but I come to you tonight to tell you, after just extensive evaluation, that property is not going to suit our needs because of the existing environmental issues. I have with me tonight Zoe Belcher, who's been part of HRP, who's now on our committee, and Dave Dixon, who's with Malone and McBroom, to present to you what we hope is the perfect alternative, which is the existing tennis courts next to Memorial Boulevard School. Some background: the existing footprint that we put together for Down Street, Dave has now put an overlay together to show you how it will exactly fit on the tennis courts.
Yeah.
The second tier to that, and I brought them because they're the expert, is to address how minimally we need to prep that site to actually start building this tribute memorial. I say that because the SGU soldiers that have been part of this city now for several Memorial Day and Veterans Day parades have come to us in tears because this isn't being built. And a sidebar to that is they've been identified as one of the at-risk populations for Agent Orange. They're dying at a rapid rate. It's just the truth. So before they go away and their stories are lost, instead of calling this the National Monument, we want to create their living legacy. So what Dave has designed are actually learning notes. So if you can envision as you go through this property, you're going to start at one end from the time the CIA started recruiting them to the end of the war and how we left that country. So as you talk about Bristol and coming here as a tourist attraction, this will be the only one in the world that'll tell their story, one, and two, from the all heart. This is so future generations outside of their children will understand what we did in the Vietnam. That doesn't make most history books. That's why I'm so endeared to this. As a veteran, I see these guys, they can't get federal benefits, and their legacy is going to die with them. So again, this is why I took this on. I had no idea how heavy lifting this was going to be, but the good news is our helicopter that we were able to procure from the state for $1 has been completely refurbished to Vietnam vintage. It's beautiful. It's currently being stored inside at a private facility, and the new design that we're going to look to is going to be basically minimally intrusive in the ground. We're going to prefab most of it. And the other good news was Mr. D'Amato Sr., who's a veteran, has agreed to be the GC with this. So hopefully tonight, if we can get your approval, we're going to hit the ground running tomorrow.
And this did pass the Park Department unanimously?
The Park Department unanimously approved it. The Veterans Council has supported this 100%. We had another meeting last week, so I made sure that there were no naysayers, and they are completely behind this. And I know this isn't completely necessary, but I need your support completely behind this because it's going to be, if we do this right, done in a year. We would like to open this November 11th, 2018.
Is there any questions? Oh,
Yeah, I do. I know I was on the Park Department board meeting when we talked about this, but tell me why the tennis courts and why they can't be rehabilitated.
I have Brian here. Where's Brian? The cost to renovate the current tennis courts at the Boulevard School was brought to our attention because we had a group of Bristol residents who spend time in Florida who are pickleballers, if I got that name right. I know. I didn't make that name, they're pickleballers, and came to us and said, the tennis courts have dual use in Florida. Pickleball is growing. Can we use the tennis court? So we offered them the ones at the Boulevard. There's frost heaves. They're a liability, frankly. And so before we spent the money, we asked for a quote on what it would cost to get those tennis courts up to speed, with the caveat, we're in New England, we're not using them year-round. And even they admitted that when they come up, they would use them until they go back to Florida. So we instead went to Sergeant Riley Field, restriped them. That's now the Bristol pickleball courts and tennis courts. And we also have excess capacity at Page Park and when available to schools. So we have plenty of tennis court capacity.
Okay.
But to spend the money to refurbish something that's not used year-round is crazy. And what was the cost?
And if the schools were just redone too.
It was about $200,000 to refurbish the tennis
And
courts.
both high schools have brand-new tennis courts. If they're
Yes.
not, are they done, both schools
No,
already?
they're not done.
Okay, so they will be done, so they'll have two brand-new tennis courts at both schools as well.
Yes, yes.
Any other questions?
What does SGU stand for?
Special Guerrilla Unit.
Thank you.
Okay, so I guess the first thing we need to do is, do you have a question?
What's the cost of the city?
Nothing.
Nothing.
How about for upkeep and et cetera? Is that part
So
of?
the way that we're going to set this up is the money put aside to build it will also include a trust fund that we're going to hand over to the Main Street Foundation for in perpetuity to fund the park board, the park department to do the maintenance on it.
Through the chair, I'd just like to say, if there's anybody that ever wonders what we mean when we say all heart, I think this is a perfect example of that. So thank you to you, Mr. Nelligan, and to the entire park board, and to Councilwoman Zils Gagny. This is a tremendous opportunity for us to recognize and honor a group that is often overlooked. So thank you so much.
So can I first have a motion to rescind the Down Street site to the SGU Tribute Monument?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Another motion to accept the plan as presented for the SGU Tribute Monument on the current tennis courts on Memorial Boulevard Park.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made second, discussion.
Just one thing, Your Honor. What are you doing for parking? Are we using Memorial Boulevard School? What are we doing for parking there?
The gazebo that we put in for handicapped veterans parking right now is what we're currently using, because as we build this, obviously there's going to be further discussions on what's happening with the school. Parking is going to be based on availability for now, but we may end up going to the Veterans Council and asking for the availability to put in an additional couple of spaces. But to your point, Dave, we'd raise the money and build them ourselves anyway. That wouldn't be a cost to the city.
Because if you build it, they will come.
And that's the intent.
Right.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no more.
Councilman?
None.
And I'm going to ask Walt to come up and talk a little bit about our streetlight conversion to LED. If you could, if you noticed around your neighborhood, around Bristol, you're starting to see new LED lights coming in. Can you just explain a little bit why we made the conversion, what it's saving the city every year, and the benefits?
Yes, the city had purchased our streetlights about, 5 years ago, and we had initiated a project to convert to LED lighting. We both get some incentives for the conversion, and we also have our energy saving. The project itself was just over $1.7 million, which the city funded as a capital project. When we complete the project, we'll get just over $550,000 back on incentives for undertaking the project. And then our energy savings for the project is $221,000 per year projected. So the project will pay itself, or pay the city back in just over 5 years. We started the conversions in the first part of August, and the crews are working throughout the city, and they'll complete the 5,500 streetlights by the end of the year.
Thank you.
Once that's done, we're going to be going around to some neighborhoods and looking at the lighting and confirming. We did photometrics of the existing, but we're going to be doing some spot checks later on just to make sure that the lighting's adequate.
Through the chair, let me just ask a question. Well, what's the major difference in people's light? I know that I've heard from some people saying, well, they had the old street light, stand underneath it, and it was bright. Now, obviously, it spreads itself out. So can you explain that a little bit as to what to expect?
The LED light has a greater spread, and it also has a focused beam, so that for the most part, the scatter of the light back behind the sidewalk is greatly minimized, so the people that had lighting in their yard in the past will not experience that now. But the LED light, if you look at it directly, it is a little dimmer as a light compared to the previous light, and if you're directly under it, it will appear to be slightly dimmer. but if you step just 10 feet away from directly under the light from the LED light, because of the focus of the lens, the light for that and up and down the street is much greater than our previous lights.
I just wanted to make sure, because again, some people are complaining, I like the old ones better, Anyway, that's gonna happen no matter what we do.
I just wanted to voice a constituent complaint as well, and this comes from someone who borders Bristol Eastern's property, and they apparently have done the conversion to LED lights in the parking lot, which as a former parent of kids that had practiced there late at night when there were no street lights on ever for years, literally many, many years I was there with kids. I'm grateful that there is lighting in the parking lot, but someone who is a close neighbor has complained that the lights come into his house, the new LED lights at the eastern parking lot. And I haven't gone out to check that out in the dark and figure out where that light does go and how it's bothering him. However, would there be a way in some of our school facilities, et cetera, to almost have them on timers that go on and off at different points? And I understand that keeping these public places lit helps generally for the neighborhood, but if there might be times that they're not needed, is there a way to have timers on them or anything like that?
I really don't want to speak for the Board of Education because those are not my lights.
That's fine. I'm just wondering if the technology exists is more my question, I think.
Dr. Moreau is here.
Technology exists to both adjust the timing and also shield.
Okay, thank you.
We're looking into whether or not we can put those couple of lights onto timers.
Thank you.
But it will have to be after all student activities are done for the night, because they were put in for exactly the reason.
Right, and I do appreciate them. My children are gone, but I appreciate it for future generations of parents that have to kind of stumble around to pick up their kids.
Right.
Thank
and
you.
They will also save us a lot of money because they're LED.
Right, thanks.
Let me just say that this is another project with the energy efficiency that we're really taking on here in Bristol to save our taxpayers some money. And it's starting to really pay off big time. Unfinished business, starting my far left.
Yes. Mr. Vasulka, sorry, if I realized how close we were to that item, I would have asked you not to sit down. Again, I've asked this a couple months in a row, but do we have any progress with the upgraded position for the water pollution control supervisor job?
Yes, we advertised the position. We have a couple candidates. We had 3, 1 withdrew. But with the weather and some other things, we had hoped to do some interviews last week, but we had to cancel because of the one candidate withdrawing and where the other candidate was located.
Okay.
So we're in the process of trying to schedule an interview for the 2 remaining candidates.
And if those happen, presumably this month, when would a hire date possibly be?
It's really going to depend upon the individual and commitments that they might have with their current employer.
But it would be as soon as practical?
Yes.
Thank you.
That's it?
Another question for the building official. Hi, Mr. Moore. I was just wondering if you could give us an update on the noise violation problem that affects Carlton Place with the medical office building. And I realize that you've sent us emails, which I appreciate updating us, but just kind of to give an update to the public. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess the original noise buffer that they put up didn't work. And once we were aware of that, we went back out to the property, we met with an engineer. I required that they hire someone, the hospital building. I guess the Bristol Hospital is not responsible for the building, that's what they're saying. It's a separate, like condos, the medical office building,
Yes.
right? So they hired an engineering firm to come out and perform the noise decibel readings. They did that, and they found that it was indeed over when they ran it through the cycle at its highest requirement. So they came up with a design, and the hospital approved the contract.
Well, the medical office building.
Medical office building, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And Link Mechanical Services is going to install it. We require them to take out a permit. That was part of the email train. So there'll be a paper trail, and we can go and inspect it and make sure that it works. After they're done, I'm hoping they're going to take decibel readings again over there, because it's going to be a requirement before we sign off on it. So,
And do you have a time frame, like when you expect that to be done? And I know we're winding down in the air conditioning season, but it would be nice to have that tested before we think it's okay and then have a problem again next warm weather season.
Well, if the air conditioning isn't running, a caveat's going to be that, and I'll put it in writing, that it has to be retested once the air conditioning is at full capacity. But I think they run that ventilator all year, so it should be evident pretty quickly that, and hopefully within the next 30 days they'll get that. It's a sheet metal structure that's like a hood. It's going to go on top of the air intake. And the acoustical engineer, he's an actual acoustical engineer, said that that's going to work. So
let's hope so.
I know.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
All right. And I think that's it. Thank you.
I almost feel like I have to call you up, Diane. Councilman Plesky.
Count your blessings, Mayor, right? Thank you. I have one piece. Earlier in public participation, you heard a couple of Bristol investors come before us to talk about the importance of well-thought-out incentives for both fixing blight and investing in our town. Let me tell you why they're here. After the last council meeting, I sent a letter to Mr. Moran, our chief building official. I copied the mayor and all the council members because I had concerns. Now, I had concerns on a number of levels, and I think it's appropriate concerns. We were presented last month in our consent agenda with tax freeze applications. Now, I wasn't against those applications per se. What I was concerned about was this body getting proper information, good information that we can make decisions on. One, I was upset after the meeting, knowing the extraordinary detail that I think should have been presented, and this not being in a consent agenda. One questioned why this was on a consent agenda. That is something that we would say is more ministerial or administrative. These were, in my opinion, applications that we should have had more information on. Number two, we applied an ordinance that is designed to do exactly what those two individuals talked about, create incentives to remediate or rehabilitate blight properties in Bristol. Blight's a very important program, very popular program in Bristol, but we've got to do it smart and we've got to do it right. And I had concerns that the application of this ordinance was maybe something that we should look into. I was concerned about the timing of the grants. This work has been done a long time ago, and I want to make sure that we weren't setting precedents. Now, I don't want you guys to get nervous. We're not taking things away from incentives. We're all here, we're pro-incentive. But what I'm not in favor of is giveaways and improperly thought out mechanisms that make no sense for the city. So I think it's our job as city council people to, one, get good information, and I don't think we did in this case. And number two, I think we have to make sure that we're applying these things fairly, adequately, and appropriately. And in my letter to Mr. Moore, I said, it's not our job to micromanage our professional staff, and my intent is not to do that. My intent, though, is, and I think we have to look at these ordinances from time to time, one, to make sure that we're giving our professional people the right tools to create incentives, just like what Mr. Gelatino and Mr. Haberfeld talked about. But number two, we've got to make sure that we make these things fit properly, and that's my only intent. I wasn't trying to insinuate through Mr. Moran that we were trying to take anything away. I just want to make sure we're smart about it, and I think that's our job. So what I wanted to do, and Mr. Moran, thank you, by the way. We didn't. He was on vacation, so he didn't have enough time really to go through this. But I wanted to make sure the council knew what this was costing. I wanted to make sure the council knew what we spent on these properties before we did this, because I think these are all very relative points of information that are very important. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this up in ordinance. As chairman of the ordinance, I think it's time that we have our professionals come talk to us about the appropriateness of this ordinance. Maybe we've got to tinker with it a little bit. Maybe another ordinance is something that would be appropriate. And Mr. Moran was kind enough to allow me to, I think he's going to invite me to one of his code enforcement meetings. So well, I'll get a chance to talk to those folks as well. But thank you. Yep. Councilman? Anything?
No, nothing.
Councilwoman?
Nothing.
Councilman?
For unfinished business?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. New business, starting my far right.
None this evening.
None.
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 Chair has none. Resignations.
There are no resignations.
Okay. Appointments. Commission for Persons with Disability to appoint Heather Woodbury to replace Sam Hackles, resigned, unexpired term to 6/20.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Mayor, can you tell us who made the appointment?
This appointment, and it should have been on your email, this came from the chair. I believe the chairman sent this.
Yes,
It
and
was
I
on-
think there's a letter from Ms. Woodbury, and she has been someone that has attended our meetings in the past as a private citizen. She's a young woman, and she's very enthusiastic about issues affecting the disabled. I'll be happy to have her serving on our committee.
Thank you.
And that was in your packet, that was emailed out.
I must have missed it. Thank you.
Planning Commission to appoint Joseph Colella to replace Andrew Howe as an alternate member, unexpired term to 7/31/18.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Marketing Committee, this is a mayor's appointment.
Your Honor, before we go to the next, can we vote on the disabilities one?
did a
We got
vote?
caught-
Okay.
Yeah, no vote.
All right, under disabilities, all in favor? Well, motion to.
Motion.
second.
Move to approve Ms. Woodbury.
Second, wait, we're back to disabilities. I guess we didn't vote on that.
That's her, Ms. Woodbury,
Okay.
for disability.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Okay.
Thank you.
We voted on planning, right?
You did, yes.
Okay. Marketing Committee. This is a mayor's appointment. I'd like to add an additional person. This was at a request of the Marketing Committee. And again, this was Shannon Tack to appoint her to the Marketing Committee. Right, that's it.
Is there, just a
no.
question, does she have a particular role? And I'm not suggesting that she needs to, but is it that she's someone that does a certain thing and that's why we're adding her to?
She's just another person on the Marketing Committee. The Marketing Committee felt like they wanted another person on.
Okay, that's fine.
Mayor, she's also I think she's helped with the Mum Festival and some other
Okay,
community things.
that's fine. I just was wondering if there was a specific purpose other than
She's a
additional
marketing
members.
person also, that's. that's
Okay,
her career.
great, thank you.
She's good.
Item number 11.
Resolution to approve grant application under U.S. Department of Justice Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant Program, fiscal year 2017, local solicitation for training. And there is a resolution to read?
I can read that, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Be it hereby resolved by the City Council of the City of Bristol, Connecticut, that the filing of a grant application under the U.S. Department of Justice Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant Program for fiscal year 2017, local solicitation for $10,000 is hereby approved, and that Mayor Ken Cockane or acting mayor and the Chief of Police or acting Chief of Police are hereby authorized to execute such application and any and all other documents relating to this application, funding, grant, including but not limited to any final funding award grant documents. Be it further resolved that this matter be referred to the Board of Finance for any necessary action.
Have a second.
Second.
Motion made, second. Discussion. Hearing none. Roll call, starting my far right.
Yes.
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 Chair votes yes, motion passes. Item number 12.
To rescind the action at the October 17, 2016 City Council meeting to approve conveyance of a discontinued portion of Cross Street to Max 454 LLC, as they did not take possession of the adjacent parcel.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Item number 13.
Authorization for mayor or acting mayor to convey a discontinued portion of Cross Street to Brookshire or Brookshire LLC.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Item number 14.
Award of contract 2P1815, route management software for Public Works fleet operations to Route Smart Technologies Incorporated for $81,000, and authorization for mayor or acting mayor to execute.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Item number 15.
Award of construction contract relative to Project 2C18-1, roadway construction at Center Square, and to authorize mayor or acting mayor to execute any and all documents. And there was a bid that had occurred, so I think all of you received the attachment that actually gave you a contractor there. So I don't know if you want me to give you the contractor's name. It is Schultz Corporation, and the amount is $2,571,101.67.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion. Let me say that this is the road that's going through our new Center Square. This will have all the infrastructure put in, and this is starting probably within the next week to two. You'll see construction finally happening over at Depot Square, and probably within the next, hopefully, month or so, you should see some construction starting for the hospital. So things are moving forward. This is an exciting time.
They also, Schultz is the people that did Rockwell Park, I believe, also. They did
Yes.
all the excavating there.
Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion passes. Item number 16.
Resolution regarding approval to file urban action grant application to the Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development to fund infrastructure improvements at Center Square and referral to Board of Finance.
Move it.
I can read that. Right.
Yep.
Be it hereby resolved by the City Council of the City of Bristol, Connecticut, that the filing of an urban action grant application to the Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development to fund infrastructure improvements at the Center Square project is hereby approved, and that the Mayor, Kenneth B. Cockane, or acting mayor, is hereby authorized to execute such application. Be it further resolved that this matter be referred to the Board of Finance for any necessary action.
So moved.
Second. Is your second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor,
Aye.
roll call, starting my far right.
Yes.
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 Chair votes yes, motion passes. Item number 17.
To authorize the Bristol Board of Education to apply to Commissioner of Administrative Services to accept or reject a grant for renovation of former Memorial Boulevard School to become Memorial Boulevard Intra-District Arts Magnet School, grades 6 through 12.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Chairman Whitman, would you like to come up and just say a few words about this? Or whoever? All right, yeah, whoever. Thank you. Dr. Moreau.
Good evening. I think it was in January, Mayor, that you,
did a
Representative Aresimovich, Chris Siogas, group of us walked through Memorial Boulevard School. We started in the auditorium, which is, of course, the way you need to enter that building and see how magnificent it is, and began a conversation about the possibility that the state would be awarding funds to construct additional magnet schools. This one is a little different because it would be an intra, which means in Bristol students. However, it could be that tuition could be paid in surrounding towns for students to attend the school as well. This grant would allow for the total renovation of the auditorium as well as the entire building. And we would expect to have some agreements if we were to get this funding. And by the way, this resolution says you can accept or reject it once the funds are appropriated, if they are appropriated. So at this point, we don't know whether we'll get funding. We certainly hope that when appropriations meets in the spring, that they will address this item, and we'll know one way or another whether you'll want to proceed with your own renovation or we'll have the opportunity to do even more for the community.
Can you say when? Did you say December? Did you just give a date?
We think
Spring.
in April. in the
April. Oh, spring.
we
Okay.
think.
Okay. Thank you.
But we thought we'd have a budget come June 30 too, so.
Yep.
Dr. Moreau, if they meet in April, how long does it usually take them to make a decision?
Oh, if they would appropriate the funds at that time, we have to have an application in, or else they don't even consider us.
And when is the
so
application due by?
There is no due date. As soon as you approve it, Tim Callahan, who's our project manager, will file the application for the funding, and then we'll be in the line of other districts that are looking for funding as well.
Let me say that this does not slow down the design work that's currently happening for Phase 1. So that project is still moving forward, so we're kind of moving in parallel. The only way things slow down is if the design work is done before the decision, then we'll kind of pull back the reins a little bit and wait and see if we're going to get the funding. But I think the design work is going to be well past that April anyways. So that will be, we're not losing any time at all.
Right, and the money that the Board of Finance appropriated is very similar to the amount which would be the city share of the renovation. So it's really a win opportunity
Absolutely.
for us to put this application forward.
Absolutely.
And just to clarify, it's okay for us to put money into the design phase,
Yeah.
but we can't put any money into construction until
Exactly.
we hear from them.
That's right.
Well, you'd be wasting your money because you wouldn't get reimbursed for it.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. The addenda.
Approval of lease between the City of Bristol and the Quabic Golf Club Incorporated, and authorization for mayor or acting mayor to execute lease on behalf of the City of Bristol.
Mayor, I gotta recuse myself. My law firm represents them.
Go.
I need to clarify, you can't start construction until we know.
Yeah.
You can continue design.
Design but not construction. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Pileski recused himself. Okay, a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Item number 18.
Executive session to discuss a demand from owners of 246 Matthews Street regarding compensation for placement of a drainage culvert on their property.
Who's going in?
It'll be our office and the Public Works Director.
Motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, motion passes. Executive session.
So moved.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Let the record show no votes were taken in executive session. Any other business? Seeing none, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. Have a great evening.